Hey YouTube, I'm going to do a few unprotected left-hand turns, but these are going to be forward-facing left-hand turns. Hopefully we can get a good comparison to 10.3. Just as a quick summary to show you, I am driving in assertive mode, and I use chill mode for acceleration. Tesla has verified that chill mode has no bearing on the acceleration available to FSD. That's just a personal preference of mine. Let's see what we can get. All right, here's round one. Looks like we might end up with a little bit of a gap. No, looks like it's going to need to wait a little bit. All right, and it definitely is waiting. Feels like I'm a little too far to the right. It's a nice gap here if it continues accelerating. Little bit. Okay, I'm not sure why it slowly stopped here, but it got across the road okay. Interesting. Okay, well, it picked a nice gap. Maybe didn't follow through quite perfectly. Let's try another one. All right, here we go again. Looks like there's going to be a nice long gap here. This one could be a roller. Let's see if it decides to roll it. That one rolled nicely. Ooh, a little bit of hesitancy there. Got a car here it's got to navigate around, but it did it. Little bit of jerkiness when it was finishing the maneuver. That feels a little bit new and different to me. But that's two gaps that it chose nicely. Just a little bit of follow through into the street that it's seeing something that's causing it to hesitate just a little bit. All right, it's got the blinker on. Looks like the path projection's just about right. Looks like it's going to need to wait here though. All right. It looks like it's waiting nicely. So not really a gap here, so it should be waiting nice and patiently. While we're looking, if you're new to the channel here, you know the color of the path vector, it needs to wait. It started to accelerate there, which was not the right time. Very small gap if it goes. It did it. It was a small gap. It did not hesitate. That car was approaching pretty rapidly. But it did it. That was good. I think we're 3 for 3. Here we go again. Looks like it's got a nice turn signal, path projected. Looks like it's going to need to wait here again. Kind of stopped in an interesting spot. It's a little bit further to the right these days. There's its gap. Oh, that car is approaching pretty fast. It needs to wait. Oh, it's going for it. Well, it accelerated enough for me to feel comfortable with it. I think that car braked a little bit, but I let it go. Here we are. So, what's happening here is I'm gaining confidence in the acceleration that it's using, and I'm not as worried about it hesitating in the middle of the lane on some of these smaller gaps. But I think this is definitely improved behavior. Got a pretty good set of traffic here. It's probably gonna have to wait a couple seconds. The steering wheel is staying pretty straight these days. This is good. That's kind of a new behavior. It's a little bit further to the right again. Very small gap there that I don't want it to go for. It might have made that one, but I didn't want it to try that one. So that one might have been a bust on me, but it was a small gap with a pretty rapidly accelerating car. I wouldn't have made that as a human driver. It might have been aggressive thinking it could have made it, but I would, especially because it was a gap just a little bit later. So no need to rush the gap if there's a larger one behind. I don't think the cameras can see those larger gaps that are beyond the visual range of the cameras that a human can see, which introduces an interesting scenario where, you know, option A is the little gap right now, and option B is the much larger gap, you know, 500 meters down the road that I can see. Okay, let's keep trying. All right, let's see which gap it chooses this time. The stopping locations are very consistent. I swear I think they're looking at my videos at Tesla. This is a very consistent behavior here with a stopping location. Okay, now the steering wheel is turned a little bit, so it's not perfectly straight. But it's waiting. You can see the visibility on the screen, about where the fuzziness starts. Okay, very large gap coming right after this white car. A pre-roll. Very nice. Let's see if it's smoothly. And it kind of crosses the yellow line in the wrong spot. So it's not entering that side street just right. But boy, is it crossing the highway well. I don't know, I think this is a noticed difference on my turns. I don't think everyone on 10.4 is reporting the same behavior. So maybe this is my overfit build. Maybe they have some specific training on this turn here. All right, let's see what we have this time. Definitely stopping in the same spot every time. A little bit to the right, a little bit further back. Steering wheel is pretty straight this time. These trees are blocking a little bit of the long range view, but if it creeps right here, it's going to see and it's going to wait, which is exactly what it did. I've got a very large truck coming. It needs to, oh, is it going for it? Gosh, it went for it. Ugh. But that truck wasn't going super duper fast, but it went right in front of the big truck. You know what? I can't complain. It's doing it. The one time it didn't do it, I may have been the one that chickened out, but I was trying to just influence it with the judgment I would have done. But what's given me the confidence is the acceleration that it's using without any hesitancy once it's in the road. It is hesitating a little bit once it crosses the road and enters the side street, but that's fixable. Forward facing, of course, is the easiest of the unprotected lefts because it uses the best camera. All right, let's see what we have here. It looks like another big slug of traffic. It's going to need to wait. Okay, now this time, actually, we're going to catch an emergency vehicle here that it definitely needs to wait for. It's got its sirens on. I don't see anything on the screen that says it knows it was an emergency vehicle, but that was a good use case. And it's waiting patiently. I don't feel like it's creeping. The steering wheel is turned a little bit. In previous builds, if you guys have remembered, this car was creeping all the way to that yellow line in a very uncomfortable location. It's a nice safe distance in the median right now. All right, it's going to shoot this first gap. I would have waited on the second one, but the first one was fine. The second one, now here, see how it had to go around that truck? That time it had to honor the yellow line because of the oncoming traffic. Okay, I think this is going to be the last one. Let's see how it goes. So far, I'm going to go ahead and say we're doing pretty good. All right, it's got a nice waiting spot here. A little bit too far to the right, perhaps again. Good visibility. And here's a nice smallish gap, and it's pre-rolling it straight across. A little bit of hesitancy in the road that time, but it did it. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it quits there. Wow, version 10.4. This is my forward-facing unprotected left video, and I'm going to say it was perfect performance. I disengaged on one of them, but I second-guessed myself, and after watching how it handled all of the other turns, I think it would have probably made that one I was uncomfortable on. That doesn't mean they couldn't have waited a little bit. The one situation I think that's worth noticing on these turns is the camera visibility does limit its options when it has multiple gaps to choose from to perhaps not choosing the safest option. If the small gap is first and it goes for it, a human might see a larger gap a little bit further down the road and wait for that one. That would be a little bit safer. But I don't know how to get around that without increasing camera range and resolution right now. All right, I think that's all I'm going to do today. If you guys would leave comments down below, let me know what you think about this comparison. I'm going to go ahead and give this a thumbs up for FSDBeta 10.4 forward-facing unprotected lefts. Have a great day.